All right, first thing we're gonna do is heat up some Crisco. Next I have some flour, and I seasoned it with some steak seasoning just because it had a lot of stuff already in it. A little bit of salt, you can do some black pepper, you can just do salt and pepper if you like. And I also did a little bit of a chili powder, just to give it some flavor because the flour makes it kind of bland. So I wanna spice it up just a little bit, not enough for too much heat, but just enough for some flavor. And we're gonna dredge our cubed steak in the flour, and then we're gonna pan fry it in that hot skillet. All right, so I just usually take a fork and dip it in there. See if I can get this laid in there. Then flip it over and make sure it's coated and shake off any excess as well. Okay, I have them all dredged, and don't throw away that flour. We're gonna use it for our gravy in just a minute. All right, let's fry these up. So we're just gonna get these brown on each side. These are cut rather large. Sometimes I see them much smaller. So just a couple minutes on each side, we'll flip them, make sure they all get cooked, and then we are going to put them in our crock pot over here. And I put a liner in my crock pot. Let's see how it looks on the other side. Yep, it's getting a nice little sear. Let it go for about 1 more minute and then flip them over. All right, I went ahead and flipped them. You can sear them as long as you want, 2 to 3, 4 minutes per side. And then flip them over and do the same thing on the other side. All right, let's add these to our crock pot. So I'm just going to take them out one at a time and line them in our crock pot. I just use a fork for my tool. I find that it grabs the meat pretty easily. All right, we're gonna sear up this last one here. See if we can't get a good sear on that one. All right, I'm getting my gravy together here that we're gonna put on top of our cube steak while this one is finishing searing. So keep that extra flour that you had. I think I had about a cup in there to begin with, and whatever's left in there now, maybe a third of a cup. And I have some butter. I'm going to start off with probably 2 tablespoons and go from there. Have some beef broth, some milk, salt, and pepper. This is not a measured science. This is a by sight science. So we're going to make our gravy as we go. All right, so our last steak here has used up the last of that Crisco. That was probably about a third of a cup of Crisco. And I'm going to put that over there in the crock pot. So we have everything here in our slow cooker ready for the gravy to go on top. So this is still warm, still have it on, probably about a low to medium temperature, and you can see all those little beef bits in there. First thing I'm going to do is add some butter to our pan. All right, let's hear the sizzle. I'm going to turn this down a little bit lower, and I'm going to just kind of take that butter around the pan. And while it is melting, I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of flour. I'm just going to shake some flour in there, maybe about a tablespoon or so. Just kind of get some of these bits up here. I guess this is what you would call making a roux if you're in Louisiana. We'll just get our flour and our butter and our beef bits from the pan here. All right, we're going to kind of cook this down a little bit. I'm going to add some more flour and some more butter. All right, so I just added a little bit more butter, a little more flour. I'm going to let this cook down a little bit more. And as it is cooking down, maybe turn the heat back up. I think I got it too low. We'll melt this butter, get that flour mixed in, grab all those beef bits from the side. Okay. It comes back up to temperature a little bit more. All right, now I'm going to add a little bit of milk. You can see this is making kind of a brown gravy. I don't really measure here either. I'm just going to pour a little bit of milk, maybe a tablespoon or so. I'm going to start working in that through. It's going to evaporate really, really quickly. And I'm going to keep adding some more milk and then eventually some beef broth. So I'm going to put about another 1/4 of a cup in here. And keep stirring it. And this is kind of the steps that I make. I keep repeating these steps. You know, the flour and butter, get that cooked down, add the milk, get everything cooked down until it gets really creamy. Right now it's kind of lumpy, so we're going to make sure it gets creamier and creamier. And then we're going to add some of our beef stock and our salt and pepper. If you need to thicken it up, you can add a little bit more flour. If you need to thin it down, we can add some beef broth or some milk. It thickens up very quickly, so it doesn't take much to thicken up the gravy. Right, I'm going to add a little bit of my beef broth, maybe 1/4 of a cup, and just kind of pour it in. Give it back some of that beef flavor. And try to work out all the lumps. Trying to work out all the lumps that are in the gravy from that flour. I don't want any big chunks of flour in my gravy. So I'm just going to keep adding to this until I get a good enough gravy. Some milk and beef broth, and I'm going to add some salt and pepper. Alright, I added about a 1/2 teaspoon of salt and about a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. I added another tablespoon of butter too. And I'm probably going to add a little bit more beef stock here. So this gravy is going to be going in a crock pot all day with a cube steak, and it's going to need to be thick enough to where it coats the meat, but thin enough to where it doesn't come out as one big clump of gravy. I want it to have a consistency of gravy. So it's a little bit of a science. And as you can see now, there's very few clumps. That flour has cooked down, and it's getting a little bit better. I'm probably going to add a little bit more beef stock here in just a minute, and then we'll add it to our crock pot. All right, so that's it. We've turned it off, and I'm going to add it on top of our cubed steak and let it cook for 8 hours on low. All right, there it is. We're going to let it cook for a while now and check on it in about 8 hours. All right, it's been 8 hours, guys. Let's take a look. Ooh, steaming up. Look at that. Wow. All right, you guys, it's been 8 hours. It looks hot and bubbly. Look at that. And that gravy mixture. It looks really yummy. All right, guys, how good does that look? That is our chopped steak, and I served it with macaroni and cheese and green beans. You could also do it with mashed potatoes or rice or any sides, really. It goes well with everything, but it looks yummy. Hope you guys enjoyed our recipe. This one is really yummy. It looks really good. Enjoy it. It looks fork tender. It is so good and so yummy and just almost falls apart. It looks delicious. So give this recipe a try. Let me know how you like it. We'll see you next time. Thanks.